accidental author, how a spur-of-the-moment decision turned into a fantasy trilogy. I think that's going to be a very fun topic to conversation to have with you. But first, we have to get this out of the way. Do you have a copy of your book, Son of Asclepius, floating around? You can wave that and show us. No?
I do, but I'd have to get up
Don't
and
worry
get
about
it.
it. Okay, just tell us then about your latest novel.
Yeah, well, actually, the Son of Asclepius wasn't the one written on spur of the moment. It was written very deliberately. But how I became a writer was through my daughter, mostly, actually. So when she was about 14, she got very into Dungeons and Dragons and wanted us to play as a family. And so we began playing one of the standard starter packs. But then after a few months, she loved it so much, she said, I want to write a campaign for our family to play. And I'm like, okay, cool. So she spent quite a few months putting together a campaign for us to play while we were still playing the standard kind of D&D starter pack. And so we all created characters, and she kept on asking me about my character's backstory because that was going to be important for the campaign. And we started playing, and it was so much fun. Like, she was the dungeon master, and I was one of the characters, and so my daughter and son also had characters to play. And the 14-year-old daughter, she also made up lots and lots of NPCs, and she was playing all of those. So we're having a lot of fun. It was a really bright spot in our family life, which was quite heavy otherwise and difficult. And I wanted to cherish that time. I didn't want to forget it. So I decided I was going to chronicle our gameplay. And
Wow,
that's how
cool.
that's how it all started. So I started, just chronicling our gameplay. I started with my character's backstory because that was, that fed into the campaign. And that took several chapters to get through. I was kind of chapterizing it a bit, and like just words and words and words just kept on pouring out and pouring out and pouring out,
And you
thousands
hadn't
and
written a novel
thousands.
before then, right?
Never.
Wow. Okay.
I hadn't thought about it, hadn't attempted it, hadn't even considered it. But then like all these words were coming out, and like I got up to something about, I don't know, 50,000, 80,000, something like that. And then I Googled, how long is a novel? Because it was seeming like
Right.
this was turning into one. And yeah, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like I'm around that word count already. And we'd barely even got into the campaign. So yeah, but initially it was just, I thought, okay, I'll chronicle it. It'll be fun. I'll print out a couple of copies that we can, each keep as and laugh about later, years down the track. But yeah, God kind of put it on my heart that this story we were playing was actually bigger than just our family, because I was processing a lot of emotional stuff through this gameplay, and my character, what my character was doing kind of was mirroring like the stuff that I was working through in my real actual life. And that then started to expand this into something that was more than just a game. So I didn't want to make it into a novel at first. I was really very, very resistant because I'm quite, at that time I still am a bit, but very sensitive to critique of my work. And the idea of putting this very personal journey like out there for anyone to just tear to shreds and give a 1-star review, like that was terrifying. And it took me quite a long time and a lot of long walks with God. And I just kept on saying, okay, this is your story, I'll do what you want with it. But like, this is really scary and I don't know if I want to do this. And anyway, yeah, eventually I kind of settled of, okay, yes, I will do the best I possibly can with this story for you, because it's yours and you want it out in the world. It's not, it's not just for me. Other people can be helped by it. So then I was all very much about getting it as professional as I possibly could, learning all the craft I could, seeking an editor out, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, all started with a spur of the moment decision to chronicle our family's D&D game. Yeah.
I love the whimsy of that. And oh my goodness, I've felt for a really long time that role playing, like D&D, is such a fantastic gateway into a lot more of this creative kind of stuff. And now you're an award-winning author, am I right?
Yes, that's right.
I mean, what a journey. How did that happen?
Well, after I'd kind of like spent a lot of time on craft and writing and that, but I still felt like I still very much suffered from imposter syndrome because it was originally my daughter's idea. I was just riffing off her basically. And I thought, I'm not a real author because I didn't come up with the idea myself. I wrote every single word, but because the idea didn't come from me, I did not consider myself a real author. So I wanted to write something that was that I had come up with. Just to like prove to myself that I could do it, that my own creativity hadn't dried up, when I was 17. I was writing stories all up until that point, and then I just stopped. So I was, as part of my craft work, I was doing a scene writing workshop. One of the prompts was to write a scene with 3 characters, all having their own goal. I had a lot of trouble with this. It was literally, your stereotypical author typing on the typewriter, ripping the sheet out, balling it up, chucking it across the room until the floor is littered with sheets of paper. It was like that, except I was a computer, not paper. But
Right.
and then I suddenly
Pile
got
of
this
laptops in the corner.
Yeah, yes. And I suddenly got this idea from a short story that I had an idea of several months before, and I thought that would work. That's got the 3 characters, and it's got a story that I want to continue, that I actually want to write, and that became Son of Asclepius. And it's very short. Like the D&D that has become a trilogy, a very very long trilogy, and it's going to be traditionally published.
Wow.
And the journey to it's taken so long. Son of Asclepius came together very, very quickly in about 6 months. From that got me through about 4 or 5 drafts in that 6-month period, working with my editor, and then it was I started submitting it for awards because I wanted to build up as a debut author a bit of like credibility, and I thought like awards is a good way to do that. So, and then pretty much everything I submitted to, I got an award seal for. So yeah, I'm up to 6 award seals now for that book.
Gosh,
and I
wow.
just and a 5-star reader's favorite review just came in as well. So that's a 7th seal.
Nice.
Yeah. So all my craft work came together in that novella, and everything I've learned about writing came together. And I've actually put together a little, like a behind the scenes or worked example of how Son of Asclepius works. So in the back of the book, there's a link to a PDF document you can get for free. Anyone who buys the book can download this document, and it's got all my my planning documents and annotations about how the book was put together, why these choices were made, what is happening behind the scenes in the progression of the novella. So it really is like a worked example of long form. Yeah. So that's I'm pretty proud of that little document actually.
My
because
goodness, that's fantastic. I would love to chat with you more at some point about, D&D and game mastering and so on, but we've got a couple of cool comments here in the chat that I want to share with you. Someone says that they have a chronic case of imposter syndrome. Don't we all? I want to ask you about that in a second. And Gianna says here, good day to you in Australia. I can also relate to the fear and concern of having people shred a story that is so personal and special to you. Gianna then follows up and asks, where can we ask this behind-the-scenes document again? And I think you said it was in the back of Son of Asclepius.
Yes.
Okay.
If you purchase any edition, ebook, print book, whatever, there's a link in the back, and I think it's called freebies or bonus guide or something like that. But yeah, in the back of the book, you'll find it, and it's free for anyone who purchases the book.
Okay, so I want to chat with you briefly about imposter syndrome, right? Which is, you're somebody who went from never having written a novel to having a horrible case of imposter syndrome, and now you're clocking in 6 awards plus 5-star review. What is that doing for your imposter syndrome? Like, how do you feel now about yourself as an author?
It has helped. I think I don't think imposter syndrome goes away completely. But for my particular variety, it was definitely helpful to get that novella written because, mine centered a lot around having the idea to start with. But I still have days where I look at what I've written and I read back over what I've written, and I just like, "Oh, I can't do this. This is terrible." This, and it fluctuates. And then other times I'm like, actually, yeah, this is good. But yeah, I don't think it goes away. It's a shapeshifter, I think, imposter syndrome. It's just like whatever it is you're struggling with, that's what your imposter syndrome will target. And yeah, so I think it's something that we just have to breathe through and know that it's there, and it's not and that not that it's not real. I mean, it is kind of, the feeling is real, but what it points to is not necessarily real.
Right. Yeah, that's great. Vic in the chat says imposter syndrome never goes away. You just push through it till your brain remembers that you do indeed know what you're doing. So that's great.
Yes.
Katherine, you're somebody, you've recorded a masterclass that you now maybe have available on your website, but it is available for somebody who gets the premier tier level ticket. And it's a masterclass that we're going to make available only for Legend Fiction members. Let's talk a little bit about that special masterclass.
Yeah. So that's all about character goals, which is interesting because, Son of Asclepius started off with 3 characters, each with their own goal. Yeah, character goals, I've found, are a really key thing to just unlocking the like a manuscript, especially this idea of the messy middle. So, like, if a character has 2 sides to their goal, they have something that they want, something that they are pursuing, but they also have something that they're avoiding. Defining both halves of those that character goal is super important to the character growth of the character, because what they're avoiding provides the stakes, and it provides the tension, and it really helps guide the whole novel, but also each scene, so that it's really compelling and readers don't want to put it down, and we don't suffer from the messy middle because we know what our character is avoiding the whole time. So the middle doesn't sag into this, "Oh, well, there's things happening, but what are they actually leading to?" So I really think it eliminates that problem that so many writers have. And yeah, that's why I wanted to put together a workshop on it, so that, other people could unsag the middle of their stories.
There you go. Well, I think what it definitely does is it puts your novel on easy mode. Because if you figure out those 2 parts to your characters, it's like all the pieces suddenly fall into place and you know exactly
Mm.
what to do and what not to do. And it's a 45, almost 50-minute masterclass, and you walk through very careful sort of step by step how to think about it, and there's tons of examples, and it's extremely helpful. And I immediately started applying it to my novel while we were listening to it. And it's like, oh, you just helped me figure out my novel that I'd already thought I'd finished writing, and I hadn't. I need to go back and now tighten things up. So you certainly, just grabbing that masterclass helps you put your novel in easy mode. And I know that I can say this because you're an award-winning author who came out the gate with their first novel and just blown everybody away. And so you figured that out, and it's obviously created for a compelling novel. Well, Katherine, where can people find you online to get a copy of your book? And then your D&D series, that trilogy sounds absolutely fantastic. When are you hoping that might be released?
27. That one will be coming out with my publisher. And if you join my mailing list, you'll know exactly when it's coming out, because I'm always telling my readers the important news. So you can find me at eclectoperennial.com. That's my website. Hopefully there'll be a link for it somewhere. But I'm eclectoperennial on most socials as well. So that's where you can find me.
Brilliant. And for those who are checking the schedule on the Legend Haven website, you can scroll down, and then wherever you see basically Catherine's face, you can tap that and it'll take you over to her website. Everything is linked over there. And then I think you're also hosting an event in the expo at some point to
Yes.
do a read through of your book.
Yep. Yes, tomorrow. Yeah,
Excellent.
looking forward to it.
I think it'll be fun. All right. Well, thank you so much for jumping on, especially at an early hour, but it was nice to see you again.